Yeah, greetings of the day. On this day, in this class, we are going to study DMA, Unit 3. So, coming to DMA, Dynamic Memory Allocation. So today's class is very important. Just try to concentrate. If you don't concentrate, it may be a typical one to understand the programs later on. So keep more emphasis on today's class. Blank your brains, just concentrate on today's class. If you have any doubts, you can ask then and there itself. So we are going to start our third unit, that is dynamic memory allocation. Now, whatever the programs we have seen so far, those programs require some memory to modify, to store, to print, etc. Whatever the programs we have done so far are having minimum one variable or more than that. Now, a variable is a name given to a memory location. Integer will be having 4 bytes of memory, character will be allocating 1 byte of memory, float, double, etc. They are being allocated with different memory locations. Now, who is going to allocate the memory for a variable? A compiler is going to allocate the memory. Now, that allocation is called as the memory management. Whatever the variables that we have seen are allocated at compilation time, that is called as static memory, where the memory can't be changed. Now in this class we are going to learn how to allocate the memory at runtime. Let us start the class. Now today's class starts with memory management, how you are going to manage the memory. Is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. So memory management means you are going to allocate the memory. The memory allocation is a process by which computer programs and services are assigned with physical or virtual memory space. Now, whenever you execute a program, the memory will be allocated. That's what you need to know. Physical memory means the memory that is created on RAM. Virtual memory means the memory that will be created on the hard disk, secondary storage device. These things you'll study in your future semesters. Now, as of now, don't concentrate on what is physical memory, what is virtual memory, etc. Okay. So whenever you execute a program, some memory will be allocated for a program. That may be a data memory or program memory, stack memory, heap memory, whatever it is. We are going to say that the memory will be allocated for a variable or a number of variables. Now, the memory allocation is done either before or at time of the program execution. Now, generally, let me share the notepad with you. Yes. Just a second. I don't need all these numbers. Okay. Now, generally, we are going to compile a program. Now that whenever you compile a program, it will be converted to .obj file, object file. When you execute the program, it will be converting. Here it is going to do what? At compilation time, it is going to convert .c program to .obj. .c program to .obj. When you execute, a .obj file will be converted to a .exe file, and it starts its execution. Now, whatever the programs we have compiled and executed so far are going to get memory allocation at compilation time itself. The memory allocation is performed at the time of compilation itself. In DMA, we are going to allocate the memory at execution time. There is a lot difference. A C compiler is going to convert the source code, if it is not having any errors, from .c to .obj object file. Then when you execute the program by pressing Ctrl F9 or whatever the method you are going to adopt, that .obj file will be converted to .exe. This obj file is in a non-readable format. It will be in a non-readable format. This concept we have studied in our introduction to programming in our previous semester. Now, whatever the program that is converted, whatever the memory that is allocated at compilation time, or the memory that is allocated at execution time, this is what we are saying in this slide. So this slide says that concept. So let me share the screen. Now, memory allocation is a process by which the computer, one second, yeah. Memory allocation is a process by which a computer programs and services are assigned with physical or virtual memory space. The memory allocation is done either before or at the time of program execution. There are two types of memory allocations. One is called as by declaring variables. Whenever we declare the variable, for example, you might be declaring integer n. Now it is going to allocate 4 bytes of memory. Is that correct? 4 bytes of memory. If you say character C, it is going to allocate only 1 byte of memory. If you say integer m of 100, it is going to allocate how many bytes? Can anyone answer? How many bytes of memory is allocated for this line integer m of 100? Let us ask one by one.
90.
Yeah, somebody said 41165. Are you there? Unmute yourself. 41165. Are you there? $99. No, wrong answer. Not 99. 41165. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, how many bytes? Just make a guesswork.
So maybe 10.
10. No.
4.
4 bytes is also wrong answer. For integer n, we are allocating, a compiler is going to allocate 4 bytes. For a single memory location, it is going to allocate 4 bytes. For 100 memory locations of type integer, how many memory allocations, how much memory is allocated? 400.
20.
That's right.
400 bytes.
400 bytes is right answer. Good one. So here it is going to allocate 400 bytes. 400 bytes. Suppose we are declaring one more memory location called as integer x. Now how many bytes are allocated? Can anyone tell me? Integer means 4 bytes.
40
Then
bytes.
40. Very good. Integer.
40 bytes.
Very good. Thank you. So here we are allocating 40 bytes. For example, a user is going to ask how many memory locations you want to store. And you are saying that I want to enter 3 values. How many values you want to enter? And you are entering 3. So how many bytes you are using if you enter 3? If you are saying I want to enter only 3 values. So that will be equal to 3
30.
into 4. 4 bytes and 3 memory locations. So it will be almost equal to 12 bytes.
12.
Yeah. So it is going to occupy 12 bytes of memory. Now we have, for example, we have assigned x of 10, 40 bytes are allocated and user wants to use only 12 bytes. What about the rest of the bytes? How many bytes are left over? So 40 minus 12,
28.
28 bytes. We are going to call 28 bytes as wastage. 28 bytes as wastage. In this program, when we declare an array of 10 memory locations, we are allocating, or compiler is going to allocate 40 bytes. And user wants to use only 3 memory locations, means 3 memory locations are used by user, then 12 bytes are being used. What about the wastage? 28 bytes is wastage. So 40 bytes allocation is called as static. Static means 40 bytes will not be changed. As we are using only 12 bytes, we can't reduce the memory location to 12. If the user wants to use 100 bytes, then we can't increase to 400. Okay. Whatever the memory that you are assigning as of now is static. Integer means 4 bytes, that is fixed. Character means 1 byte, that is fixed. If you are declaring an array of 100, then 400 is fixed. Here, if you are allocating 10 memory locations, then 40 is fixed. Even you use it or you waste it, that is the concept of static memory location. Static memory allocation that we have studied so far. So what we are saying here, by declaring variables, static memory is allocated for declared variables by the compiler. The address can be found using the address operator. As everyone knows, with the last unit, we have seen this address operator and can be assigned to a pointer. The memory is allocated during compile time. So this all story is allocated at compile time. Even if you declare a pointer integer star p, how many bytes of memory is allocated? Can anyone answer?
4 bytes.
4 bytes. Very good. 4 bytes is the right one. It may be any data type. The pointer, if it is a pointer, it is going to get allocated 4 bytes of memory. So all this stuff is going to get used for static memory allocation, or at the compilation time, the memory is allocated for all these types of variables. And these data or this memory is fixed. We cannot change. I want to use a integer memory location of 6 bytes. I can't do that. You can go with integer or go with long. Long is going to allocate you 8 bytes. If we want to have 6 bytes, then that is not at all possible. Now, this issue of memory comes when you are designing a IoT enabled device or any other device like AI based device. Maybe you are working on a device like calculator, maybe an oximeter, or maybe any other device that you are preparing. Now that device will be a compatible one. Even your mobile phone is also a device which is having limited memory. Maybe you may have a 8 GB mobile, 32 GB mobile, a 128 GB mobile, and that 128 GB is also fixed. You cannot increase more than 128 GB if it is compatible with 128 GB only. Like that, if you are designing a small device, now that device will be having issues related to memory. Now, how effectively you utilize that memory is a major concern. So that's why we need to allocate the memory of that size which we are using. Otherwise, you are not supposed to allocate the memory. That is the concept of DMA. That is the concept of DMA. Now, what we are doing here, this is regarding the static memory allocation. What it says, static memory is allocated where you, just a second, and I'll switch off. So now what we are doing here is static memory is allocated for declared variables by the compiler. The address can be found using address operator and can be assigned to any pointer. The memory allocated during compile time. This is regarding static memory allocation. Now let us see one more way how to allocate the memory by explicitly requesting space from C. I want this much memory. You are asking for the compiler. I want 10 bytes. I want 5 bytes. I want 100 bytes. You are asking to the compiler. The process of allocating memory at runtime is known as dynamic memory allocation. Means at the runtime, if you are allocating the memory, then it is called as dynamic memory allocation. Is there any doubt in this slide? Memory management. Is there any doubt? Otherwise, let us move to the next slide. I'll consider that there is no doubt. So let us go to the next slide. So here we are having two things: static memory allocation, dynamic memory allocation. Whatever the programs we have seen so far comes under static memory allocation. Static means not that static keyword whose value we can't change. That is different. Static memory allocation means at the time of compilation, you are going to, or the compiler is going to allocate the memory, is called as static memory allocation. If you are going to allocate the memory at execution time, means the user is asking how many values you want to enter, 3, then allocate only 3 bytes of memory, 3 to 4 bytes of memory. If the user wants 10, then allocate 10 into 4 bytes of memory, like that. We'll see that. Now, let us go through the differences between the static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation. So let us go one by one. Static memory allocation, memory is allocated at compile time. Just now we have concentrated on that. Dynamic memory allocation, memory is allocated at runtime. Okay, when you execute the program, if the memory is allocated, then it is called as dynamic memory allocation. Otherwise, it is called as static memory allocation. Next, memory cannot be changed while executing a program. memory can be changed while executing a program. So what is that? When we declare the memory, when we declare a variable, the memory is fixed 4 bytes. When you declare a character variable, 1 byte is fixed. You cannot increase the size, you cannot decrease the size. If you declare an array of 100 elements, 400 bytes of memory is allocated, that is fixed. Integer x of 10 means 40 bytes of memory is allocated, that is fixed. You cannot make 40 to 42 or 40 to 12 because here we are using only 12 bytes. I want to reduce the size, you can't do. Okay, in static, whereas in dynamic this is possible. How? Let us. So that is point number 2. Next, used in an array. Array means what? If you are declaring the variables, say integer a comma b comma c. Now some compilers, online compilers, are going to allocate the memory for a. For example, if the memory allocated for a, can you see the drawings?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. So here, for example, the address is 100. Maybe the next address is 102 if it is allocating 2 bytes, and maybe the next address is 104. This is what the slide says. In static memory allocation, the addresses or the memory that is allocated is in a sequential format. The addresses that are allocated are in a sequential format. So the next point, what it says here is used in an array, used in the linked list. What do you mean by linked list? This linked list concept you are going to study in your next semester in data structures concept. You'll be getting one concept called as data structures. There you are going to study this linked list concept, not in this semester. So let us see what exactly is this data structures called as linked list. Now you might have seen, you might have traveled in a train. In the train, you might see bogies. Those bogies are interconnected. So it may resemble something like this. You will be having a box, followed by another box, followed by another box, and followed by another box, for example. Now what you will be having, every node will have an address. Say the address is 100. The next address is 102. Next address is, just a second, 104 and 106. For example, they are being allocating 2 bytes of memory. Now these are the addresses. Now what this particular node, this is called as a node. This node will be having 2 parts. This node will be having 2 parts. If it is a single linked list, it will be having 2 parts if it is a double linked list. Now what this particular part will have, just let me explain. One is called as data part, another one is link part. Link means address. Link means address. So this particular point value box will be having data, this particular box will be having link. For example, you want to store value 10, 20, 30, 40. So here you will be having value 10, here you may be having value 20 in the data part, here you will be having 30 in the data part, here you will be having 40 in the data part. Now, what is the address of the next value? The address of the next value after 10 is 102. So here you will be having 102 in the link part, here you will be having 104, here you will be having 106, and at the last, because there is no other node, you will be having a null value. So the null value represents end of the list, end of the linked list. Now here, if you are having a 102, then there is a link between these two nodes. Then there is a link between these two nodes. Then there is a link between these two nodes. Now how it is represented internally means it is going to get represented in this fashion. There is a link between these two. In train, you are going to move from one bogie to another bogie. So here we can traverse. You are going to print the value 10, take the address of the next node, go to the address next node, print the value, go to the address of next node, print the value, go to the address of next node, print the value. If this is going to encounter null, that's it. That is the end of the list. So this concept is called as linked list, which you are going to study in your next semester. Is this clear? This is how memory is also allocated. One is sequential memory allocation in the form of an array, or in a dynamic format, that is in a linked list format. And here in the example, we have taken 100, 102, 104, 106 in a sequential manner, but there is no guarantee that the memory will be allocated in a sequential manner. Somewhere it may be 100, somewhere it may be 500, somewhere it may be 300, etc. So this type of memory management is called as a dynamic memory management in the form of a linked list. Is this clear? Great. I consider that this is clear. So let us clear all the drawings. Now let us get back to the slide. What slide says? Used in linked list format, used in array format. Then it is fast and saves running time. Static memory allocation is fast. Why? Because the memory is allocated at compilation time itself. There is no need to modify the memory. Whereas coming to the dynamic memory allocation, it is a bit slow. Why it is slow? Because at runtime, it has to find where is the vacant place, where is the free memory, allocate the free memory if it is having that much amount of memory. If you are allocating 400 bytes, 100 bytes must be free at a location. Where that location is available, there the memory is allocated. Okay. So it allocates memory from the stack. It allocates memory from the heap. So there are two different memory locations. One is called as the stack memory. One is called as the heap memory. Don't concentrate much on that. We are having two different types of memory. One is called as stack memory. Another one is called as heap memory. What are they? You are going to study in the next semester. What is the importance, etc. So one memory is called as heap memory, where the dynamic memory allocation is created. One memory is called as the stack memory, where the normal variables are created. Next, allocated memory stays from start to end of the program. Now, in this particular program or in this example, if you are declaring these variables, now these variables will reside in the system till the execution of the program. You cannot deallocate the memory that is allocated. You cannot deallocate it or remove A. You cannot deallocate the memory allocated for B or C for P, whatever may be the variable. You cannot remove the variable till the execution of the program. If it is a function, till the function execution is over, that memory will reside in the memory of the CPU. Now, if I want to remove, then that is possible in DMA. You can create a memory location at runtime, modify means increase the size or decrease the size or completely remove it from the memory. So these things can be performed in a DMA, dynamic memory allocation. That is what it says. So memory can be allocated at any time and can be released at any time. Whereas coming to static, allocated memory stays from start to end of the program. Next, which one is efficient? The question comes, if we are having both, which one is efficient? So it is less efficient than the dynamic allocation strategy. Why? Because we are going to allocate the memory which is required. If it is not required, we are not going to allocate the memory at all. So there is no concept of wastage of memory. So here it is the disadvantage. It is less efficient than dynamic allocation strategy. It is more efficient than the static allocation strategy. Next one. Implementation of this type of allocation is simple. Implementation of this type of allocation is complicated. So today we are going to see all complicated programs. Just try to concentrate more. Just try to concentrate more. Now, take a snapshot of this slide such that you can keep it as a part of your notes. All of you take a snapshot of this slide. Difference between static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation. In exam, you may get a question like this. Write the difference between static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation and write a program to do so and so. So in this unit, this question is very important. Difference between static memory allocation and dynamic memory allocation, and write a program to do something, maybe adding or sum of array elements, maybe finding even and odd elements, maybe whatever it may be. So this slide is very important. It may fetch you some marks. Take a snapshot of this slide. Then let us move to the next one. So let's go to the next slide. So first one here is the dynamic memory allocation. How the dynamic memory allocation is being implemented in C program. The process of allocating memory at runtime is known as dynamic memory allocation. The process of allocating memory at runtime is known as dynamic memory allocation. The process of allocating memory at compilation time is known as static memory allocation. Maybe in quiz you may get to any one of these questions. The process of allocating memory at runtime is known as dynamic memory allocation. The process of allocating memory at compilation time is known as dash, static memory allocation. Maybe you may get 2 questions out of this. So in C language, we have 4 functions used for implementing dynamic memory allocation. There are 4 different methods, functions. One is called as malloc, calloc, realloc, and free. So malloc allocates block of memory, one chunk of memory is allocated. Calloc allocates multiple blocks of memory. It is not a single block, it is going to allocate multiple blocks. How you want, you can use. Either you can create the memory using malloc or you can create the memory using calloc. It's up to you. Then realloc. Realloc is a method that modifies or reallocates the memory. Using malloc or calloc, you might have allocated some space. You want to increase or you want to decrease. Then in order to increase or decrease, you can use the realloc function. Malloc, one block with garbage value in it. Calloc, multiple blocks with 0 value in it. Default value of calloc is 0. Malloc is garbage value. Realloc. Realloc is a method that can modify the memory that is created by using malloc or calloc. Modifying means what? You have allocated 10 bytes. You want to make it 20, go with realloc. You want to make it 2 bytes, go with realloc. Updating, that is adding the memory or reducing the memory, will be performed using realloc. And whatever the memory that is allocated using malloc or calloc can be deleted using free. Releases the previously allocated memory. So free function is going to delete the memory that is allocated using malloc or calloc. So is this clear? Is this slide clear? So we are having totally 4 functions. Malloc is a method that is going to allocate one block of memory with garbage value as default value. Calloc is going to allocate multiple blocks of memory with 0 as the default value. Realloc is going to reallocate the memory that is already allocated by malloc or calloc. Reallocating means what? Either adding or reducing the size. Increasing the size that is allocated or decreasing the size that is allocated. And free is a function that is going to deallocate the memory that is already allocated. Is this slide clear? Anyone is having a doubt in this slide? Otherwise, we can move forward. So next slide is on malloc. What is this malloc? Let us see. This function reserves the block of memory. One block of memory will be reserved of a specified size and returns a pointer of type void. We have already seen void type pointers, integer pointers, character pointers, float pointers, etc. And we have also studied void pointer. What is a void pointer? Can anyone tell? Don't turn the pages. Anyhow, you might not be writing the running notes because you are getting videos of the classes, which you may refer or you may not refer. I don't think so. Are you referring the previous videos?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, great. If it is so, then it is great. That is what the intention for storing the videos in YouTube. That is the only intention, to refer it back. So subscribe to the channel, then you will be getting all the notifications of new videos used for any data type. Very good, right answer. So void is a pointer variable which can point to any type of variable. Any type of variable. That's why in pointer void you are going to typecast the same thing we are going to do. Pointer is equal to cast type. Cast type means data type to which you want to convert. Malloc is the name of the function and the number of bytes you want to allocate. Number of bytes you want to allocate. For example, integer star p is equal to integer star malloc 10 into size of integer. So this is how you are going to allocate a integer pointer's memory. Integer star malloc 10 into 10 bytes, 10 blocks of memory. 10 is the array size, for example, into size of integer. Why we are writing size of integer? Can't we write 4 or 2? Because we don't know how many bytes
Differs with the compiler, sir.
Yeah, it depends on the compiler. Good one. So in some cases here it may be allocating 4 bytes, some cases 2 bytes, some cases 8 bytes. So we don't know. That's why we are writing size of integer. Okay. Now let us see example without using DMA, how to find the sum of individual find the sum of elements of an array. Then we are going to move to pointers. Then we are going to go to DMA. Step by step we are going to do this. Okay. Concentrate If you have a doubt, you ask it straight away. Don't sleep in this class. This is very important class with respect to mid-exam, with respect to external exam. Okay? If there is even a single doubt, you can ask. Let us go with the dev environment. Just a second. Is the dev. Take a couple of seconds to load. So there is no concept of DMA here in this program. There is no concept of DMA. Just we'll be finding the sum of array elements. Just a second. Array. Can you see the dev environment?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
What happened? Just a second. Share. Oh, it is in slide. I thought. Now it is visible.
Yes, sir.
I thought it is
Yes,
visible.
sir.
Oh. So this notepad was visible all this time when I was explaining?
No, sir.
Slide, sir.
Okay, done. Then we move to slide. From there we are coming here. So now let us concentrate on this program. Just help me out if you recollect the code. Sum of array elements. So let us write integer n of, say, maximum is 100. Then we need something called as size. Then I need I. Yeah, that's enough. Printf /n, enter how many values. Scanf %d comma ampersand size for I equal to 0, I less than size, I plus plus. This loop is going to repeat for those many number of times the user is going to enter. 5 means 5 times, 100 means 100 times. Okay. So if /n, enter a value at n of %d comma x. Then scanf %d comma ampersand n of I. Then we want to calculate the sum of array elements. So one more variable sum is equal to 0. So here we are using sum is equal to 0. One variable for I for having a loop. Then size represents how many values the user want to enter, and the n of 100 is the maximum array size that we are allocating. So here we are allocating 4 bytes, 4 into 100, 400 bytes, 4 bytes, another 4 bytes, another 4 bytes. So totally how many bytes? 400 plus 12, 412 bytes we are allocating in this single line. So here we are asking for the size. Then here we are writing sum plus is equal to n of I. We are not displaying individual elements what the user has entered. Simply we want to enter the sum. /n sum is equal to %d comma sum. So this is the end of the program. Anything new in this program you have seen today? This is old program that we have studied so far. Is there any doubt in the program? So here we are declaring the variables. Here we are asking for how many values. Here we are accepting the values. Here you are calculating sum because sum value is initially 0. Sum plus is equal to n of I. Every time it is going to add the value. Here it is going to print the value. That's it, right? Any doubts in the program?
No, sir.
Good, great. Now let us execute this program. Execute, compile and run. Yeah, what's the issue? Sum is equal to, yeah, there is a comma
Comma,
missing.
sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma. Compile and run. Wow, how many values? 3 values. We have allocated 100 bytes, 100 into 4, 400 bytes. We are using only 3 memory locations. So full wastage, 10, 20, and 30. So we got sum is equal to 3. What is this 3? What happened?
You haven't mentioned percentage D, sir, in last printf. I.
Yeah. Thank you. So I is 3, so it is printing I value. So thank you for that. Great analysis. 3 values, 10, 20, and 30. So we got 60. Finally, good result. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there is nothing new in this program. If there is nothing new, shall I copy paste this program in WhatsApp group? Is it required?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. No issue. Let me copy and paste.
No, sir.
No? Yeah. Let us go step by step what exactly happened. Okay. So this is F1. Yeah, F1. What is this F1 not related to me? Yeah, this F1 is ours. So we have a quiz exam on 15th at 5:30. Okay. 4:30 I thought of keeping, but for E2 there is some other schedule. So don't consider this one. Consider this as to be the final one on 15th. Day after tomorrow we have the exam at 5:30. So prepare well. All the best. So this is the first program. Now what we are going to do is we are going to change this program using pointers. Okay, sum of array elements using pointers. Just to concentrate how I am changing the code. Can anyone help me? So we need to declare integer star p. What is the next line you are going to write? P is equal to address of n of 0. You can write like this, p is equal to n of 0, or you can directly write p is equal to n. Both represent the same thing. P is assigned to the base address of n. Okay, p is assigned to base address of n. Now what is the change that we are going to do now inside this one? Ampersand n of I need to be changed. So can I write like this? P plus
Ampersand
I. This is what we have seen in our previous class. P plus I. P is pointing to the 0th index. Every time you are checking with I value is 0, start address. P plus I value becomes 1, next address, next address, next address, so on. So here what we are doing here is we have an array. So in this array we have the indexes. So the index value starts from 0, then it is followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now, these things are also having addresses. What is the address? Say 100, the 102 if it is allocating 2 bytes, 104, then 106, then 108, then so on. So these are the addresses. So what is this? This is index, and this one is address. So indexes are there, addresses are there. Now we have one more location called as pointer. So the name of this pointer is asterisk p. It is also having some address, say 5000 is the address. Now initially we are writing one line of code. What is that line of code? P is equal to n. Means whatever the base address is there, store that in the pointer. So here we have now 100. So here what it is there? 100 is there. So here we have the value 100. 100 means what? Now the pointer is pointing to the 0th location. Pointer is pointing to 0th location. In the next iteration, first iteration I value is 0. 0 plus 100, the result is 0 only. Next, in the next iteration I value will become I plus plus. I plus plus means 100 will not become 101. In the pointers concept, it is going to move to the size of that particular data type. Size of that particular data type. P plus I, P plus 1 becomes 102. For the next iteration, it will become 102. 100 is the value fixed. We are not changing the pointer. We are adding p plus I. That's it. We are not moving the pointer p plus I. So 100 plus I value, that is 1, will become 100 plus 1 into size of integer. Then, so what it is going to become? It is going to become, just a second, 100, just a second, let me change the color. Yeah, 100 plus 1 into size of whatever it is. Integer means integer. Size of integer. So 1 into size of integer, that is I value. That is 100 plus I into size of integer. So this is going to happen every time. What it is going to happen? 100 plus size of integer. What is I value for the first iteration? I value is 0. For the first iteration, I value is 0. Some that is p plus I. Pointer is 100. 100 plus 0 into anything is 0. So first time it is pointing to 0th location. In the next iteration, I value becomes 1. When I value becomes 1, it is going to add 100 plus 1 into size of integer, 1 into 2. So 100 plus 2, 102. In the next iteration, it is going to point to the next location when I value increases, and this process goes on. Is this clear? Is this concept clear? Yeah, thank you. So next one, what you're going to write? The same p plus I, but p plus I will be having address. So in order to make it as a pointer, change it to asterisk. P plus I, address 100. Next time it will be 102. Next time it will be 104. And star represents value at address. Value at address. Whatever the value we are storing, that will be printed. So if there is no doubt, just take a snapshot. We'll execute this program. Take a snapshot of this program. We'll execute it. Is this clear? I'll show one more way how to do this. So execute, compile and run. Same three values, 10, 20 and 30. So we got same output. Sum is equal to 60. What we have done, we have implemented the same program using pointers. Using pointers. This is one approach. Is there any doubt in the program? So let me copy paste in our WhatsApp group. Now let us modify this program a little bit. Now some of you may be saying, sir, why to assign this outside? Can't we assign inside the loop? Yes, I'll show that also. So here you are going to write the next time p is equal to address of n of I. Here you are not going to write n of 0 or n. Why? Because every time I is going to point to index value. So let me clear these things now. Oh, Control Z. Oh. Now let us get back. P is equal to ampersand n of I. Now here we don't have p plus I. Every time we are changing. So here we'll be getting star p. This is another approach. What we are doing here now, p is equal to address of n of I. Means what is the initial value of I? 0. 0th index is having 100. So here it is having 100. Now the pointer is pointing to the 0th location. Okay. So how to handle that one? Printf, then scanf. Directly you are writing p. Directly you are writing scanf p and star p, value at address. Whatever the value is there, that will be added. Next iteration, I plus plus. Now I value is 1. So here p is equal to ampersand n of 1. Now the second iteration, what is happening is, now here it is not pointing here and 100 becomes now 102. Second iteration, 102. Means now the pointer is pointing to the second location, 102. Next iteration, I plus plus. Now again you are assigning the address p is equal to ampersand n of I. Now this 102 will be changed to 104 and this process goes on. Now it is going to change from 102 to 104. Now the pointer is pointing to the 104th location. What we are doing, we are moving the pointer. Previously we stopped the pointer, we added I value every time. Here we are moving the pointer. Understood? Two different approaches. You can assign the address outside the loop or inside the loop. This is what is the difference. So let us execute, compile and run. Let us see whether we are getting the same output or not. Three values, 10, 20, and 30, same output. Okay. So either you can move the pointer value, you can keep the pointer value same and change with I value. It's up to you. So let me copy paste this program. So this is another approach using pointers. Clear all drawings. So let us get back to the previous state, P plus I concept. Let us keep this outside. Yeah. So what we are doing here, we are assigning P is equal to N. Then we are performing the read value as well as calculating the sum. We are printing the sum using pointers. Now, what we have done here, we are having some memory location. For that, a pointer is assigned. So let us get back to Notepad. So what we are doing here, in this example, Notepad is visible. Somebody respond.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah, thank you. Please respond. Otherwise, I'll be feeling that I am not connected to you. Maybe my internet is lost, etc., etc. So if integer n is there, a variable, and integer star p is there, if you write p is equal to address of n, what are these lines called as? What exactly is going to happen internally? Means we have a memory location called as n. The name of the memory location is n. Just a second, change the color, and it is having some associated address, say 1000. In similar fashion, we are having another memory location called as P. The name of this memory location is called as star P. Asterisk P and star P. It is having some associated address, say 5000. Say 5000. Now, these are the two memory locations created using integer n. This is the memory location created. Yes, using integer star p, this memory location is created. If you write p is equal to address of ampersand n, we said in the first class that a pointer is something like a devil. It can possess someone. It is going to possess a memory location. Now, this particular line is used for possession. It is going to possess. Yes. Now, this is the concept of pointers as of now. Now, what we want to do is we don't want this particular memory location at all. We don't want it. No, not required. What we want to do, we want to allocate the memory for this pointer directly. I don't want to depend on somebody else. Yes, let me store the value. As of now, whatever the value that is available inside P is called as the address, not the value, not the data. So here what is having 1000 is available. Now what is 1000? The address of n. Address of n. 1000 is not the value, it is the address. Now what we are doing is we are making the pointer capable of holding a value. Here the pointer is capable of holding an address. Pointer, whatever the value, even if you write p is equal to 1000, this is an illegal activity, but if you write like this, then what is this? P is holding an address called as 1000. That is not the value. P is holding the address. 1000 may be some address. Okay. So here what we are doing is in the dynamic memory allocation, we are removing this n concept at all. We don't want any variable. We give the capability out to the pointer to store a value in it, Okay. So how it is done, let us see. Is there any doubt here?
No, sir.
Great. So let us get back to the concept. Just concentrate. I'm changing the program from pointer to DMA. So what we said, we don't want n of 100, no memory allocation, no wastage. So remove this. Now we want to give the capability to the pointer to store the address, to store the value, not the address. So if there is no n, this line is not there. So what we will be having? So first you will be asking to the user how many values you want to enter. how many values you want to enter. So we got size 3, 10, 100, whatever it is. So what you're going to do, ptr is equal to, we said, see the slide, how to assign integer star malloc the size into size of units. Syntax is ptr is equal to cast type into, not into, that is pointer malloc byte size. So let us implement the same thing. So here we want to convert to integer star because pointer is a integer variable. We are converting it into integer star. Why? Malloc is a function which is available in stdlib.h. Malloc, calloc, realloc, free. All the functions are available in stdlib.h. That's why it is given by default in dev environment. Yes. So malloc is a function which returns a void type. If it is returning a void type, then you have to store it, you have to convert it into its appropriate data type. Then what is the size? Size into. Now let us change this size because it may create a problem in understanding. Let us make it as n. So here it is n. So here it is how many values? N values, 3 values, 5 values, 10 values, 100 values, whatever it is. Then into size of operator, then what is the data type? Integer. Is there any doubt in this line?
Sir, pointer is P now, sir. Why you have taken P?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. That's a mistake. Very good. Next. Is there any other doubt? P is a pointer. The rest is the syntax. As per the slide, cast type to data type, malloc, then byte size. Example is integer star, malloc 10 into size of integer. Same thing, malloc n. With the runtime, user is going to enter 3 values, only 3 into 4 is allocated. If the user is entering 10, 10 into 4 is allocated. If the user is entering 100, 100 into 4 is allocated. There is no wastage at all. Even this is fixed. This n value is fixed. But we are giving this n value at runtime, not when we compile. We are not assigning what is n value here. At execution time, we are asking how many values, though that much memory is only allocated. That is the advantage of dynamic memory allocation. Is there any doubt here?
No, sir.
Very good, great. Now we need to know whether this memory is allocated or not. Whether this memory is allocated or not. Suppose the limit of this particular device is 1 GB. User wants to allocate 2 GB size, then it is not going to allocate. So for that sake, you need to cross check. If P is equal to null, null means it is not pointing to anything. You are checking. If P is equal to null means not allocated, memory is not at all allocated. So what you're going to write? Printf. What is the reason? We don't know. Maybe there is a bad cluster. Bad cluster means hard disk is having a problem, RAM is having a problem. There is a bad cluster in the memory. It cannot allocate. Maybe the memory is read-only memory. Sometimes your pen drive is not going to work like that. Hard disk also going to become a read-only. Sometimes the RAM capacity is 2 GB and you are allocating more than that. Whatever the capacity the RAM is having, more than that you want to allocate, then it is also not possible because it is the n values we are accepting at runtime. The n value what we are accepting is at runtime. So try that size, giving that size. Okay, printf, then memory cannot be allocated. Memory cannot be allocated. Why? We are not specifying here. Okay, then if the memory is not allocated, then write exit 0. Exit 0 is a function which is going to stop the program there itself. The rest of the code will not be executed. The rest of the code will not be executed. So this is the line for allocating.
We can also write a return 0, no, sir?
Return 0 also you can write. Yes, return 0 also you can write. Nothing wrong. So good one actually. So if P is equal to null, you are going to print, stop the program there itself. Next, if it is allocated, means the memory is allocated, and if this if condition is going to fail, means the memory is allocated. So how we are going to change? Just concentrate. What we are having, P plus I, keep it as it is. What we are having, P plus I, keep it as it is. Then print the sum. Nothing is going to get changed. Okay, understood this program?
For loop size has been changed to n.
Yeah.
In for loop, sir, for size hasn't been changed in
Yeah. Good. Thank you. So this one we have to change to n. Very good. That is the only change. The rest of the code remains same. Let us execute, compile and run.
Printf.
3 values. How many values? 10, 20, 30. We got same output. Sum is equal to 60. Okay. So our program is working fine. There is no error in the code. So the main important thing is we don't have here an array. We have a pointer. We are asking for how many values. Based on that values, we are allocating the memory. So here, allocating the memory at runtime. We are checking if the memory is not allocated, then we are printing. Then we are accessing as if it is a normal pointer variable, nothing new. And here also the same thing. Okay. So this is regarding using malloc. Malloc is a function inside stdlib.h which allocates the memory dynamically as a single block. Means what? Inside this block, so it will be having a single block of memory. Suppose the user is entering size 3, then 3 boxes will be created inside this block. 3 boxes will be created. And one more is there, the pointer. That pointer is going to point. That pointer will be pointing. How it is pointing? We are controlling using p plus I. We are controlling using p plus I. Here we are controlling using p plus I. Okay, one block, that block will be having boxes or memory locations inside one block. Every memory location will have the value. Is this program clear?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So there is a chat. Sir, execute without if block. This one, yeah, it will execute. But if the memory is not allocated, we don't know. Without if block, if it is not allocating, we can't handle that situation. It will execute anyhow, because in my system, we have huge memory. The problem arises when you are designing a device, when you are creating a new device which is having less memory. You are making an IoT project or AI project. There the problem may arise. Okay, not here. We, in our latest desktop systems, laptops, we have huge memory. Mobile phones, we have huge memory, 2 GB, 4 GB. In my case, 4 GB RAM is there. How much bytes we require? Only around 3 into 4 bytes. That's it. 12 bytes are sufficient for executing this program. Next. So I have copied this program. Did I? No. So this is using malloc. So if there is no doubt, let us go to the next function. Okay. So the next function is realloc. No, calloc. Calloc is a function that allocates multiple blocks of storage, not single block, multiple blocks of storage, each of same size, and then sets all the values to zeros. So the default value is 0. It takes the following form. So here we have the pointer, same type conversion, data type, calloc, n comma, here n into element size was the previous one, here n comma element size. Okay, now let us change the program. Just concentrate what I am changing. So there is no change in declaration of variables. There is no change in accepting the values. So there is only change in this particular line. What is the change? Here you have asterisk symbol, make it as a comma. That's it. The asterisk symbol is converted to comma. Then the same concept, same concept, same concept. So here change malloc to calloc. Now let us execute. What are the differences? Comment is changed. Malloc became calloc. malloc function became calloc. Here n into size of integer was there. Now it became n comma size of integer. N blocks of memory is created. Not a single block, n blocks. So what exactly is happening there? Here in the previous case we have single block. Now here we have multiple blocks of same size with a value 0 in it. With a value 0 in it. Previously we had a garbage value in it. I'll show that. So this is how we will be having multiple blocks. In malloc we have only one block. In that we may be having multiple blocks of same size. Okay, that is the only difference. So let us execute the code. Execute, compile and run. So 3 values. Oh, I have pressed a dot, so it stopped. 3 values, 10, 20 and 30. So we got same output. Okay. So let me copy and paste the code. Is there any doubt? So what are the modifications? The modifications are calloc. Here n into size was there. Now it became n comma size. That's all.
Sir, it just creates blocks, no, sir?
Creates blocks. Yeah, different blocks.
So
As per
block
theory,
of block
not
of
a single
how
block.
much size?
Yeah.
What is the size of that each block, sir?
Size is fixed. Size of integer, 4 bytes.
Oh, only 4 blocks.
Each block is of 4 bytes in this example. Okay. Good question. Next one, now let us check the difference. Okay, the difference between malloc and calloc. So here we are going to write difference between malloc and calloc functions. So what we want is, we don't want sum. We don't want to calculate sum. We want a printer, that is pointer, how many values, then allocating the memory using malloc first, then into size of integer. If null, then let us print only the addresses. So address of %d is equal to %d. So comma, so what it is, p plus I. Address is p plus I. No calculation of sum. So only we are printing the addresses in order to know. And address, so address of 0, comma, value also let us print. Value is equal to %d. Now what is the next parameter? Take this p plus I, keep an asterisk before that. Asterisk value at this particular address called as p plus I. So it is going to print as address and the value, so that we can understand what exactly is happening. So this is using malloc. Then we are going to write one line free. So we forget in the previous program to free the memory. If we don't free the memory, then it is going to free the memory after completing the program execution. If you free the memory in between, it is going to free that, so that we can again allocate the memory. Now here we have freed the memory, free pointer p. Then again we are going to allocate the memory. So printf /n using calloc. So this is what is happening using calloc. Previously it happened using malloc. So this is using malloc function. Now again we copy pasted it. After freeing the memory that is allocated, we have freed, removed the memory from the heap memory. Then we are calling using calloc. Now here we need to change calloc, and the change here is n memory locations of 4 bytes. Then we are printing the same thing. So let us execute, compile and run. So how many values? 5 values. See, Just a second, I'll execute. The output is huge. Let us take three values. Three values. Now see, using malloc 10097600 604 608. Using calloc, see the addresses 600 604 608. Though it is a single block or multiple blocks, addresses are same with respect to dev environment. If you work on code blocks, if you work on online GDP, maybe you may get same output or different output. We don't know. As per dev, the addresses are same. 600, 604, 604, 608, 608. If you want to see the actual address, change percentage D to percentage T. We'll do that. Now, here you can see it is having a garbage value. It is having a zero value, a garbage value. Whereas calloc is having all default values as zeros. That is the difference. Okay. As per the execution is concerned, they are having different blocks with same addresses. They are having, malloc is having garbage values in it, and calloc is assigned with zero value as default. If you want to see the exact output of the address, change it to P, percentage P. Here also change to percentage P because addresses are printed using percentage P. Execute, compile and run. Let us make three memory locations. See, C913C0, C913C0, same memory locations are created again after freeing the memory. Then here we are having default value, garbage value, garbage value. Again it is created, then only it is having value 0. Otherwise it need to have the same value here also. Okay.
So what happens if you don't free the pointer?
Yeah.
Once execute the program without freeing that pointer, sir.
Execute without free. Okay. Execute, compile and run. So three memory locations. Now, see here addresses are changed. C0, C4, C8, E0, E4, E8. Okay,
Okay,
with the
clear.
different memory is allocated because that memory is not freed. That
Yes,
memory
sir.
is available. Again, one more memory is created. Again, one more memory is allocated. Now, once it is free, if you are using that pointer, then that pointer is called as a dangling pointer. After freeing the pointer is called as dangling
Dangling
pointer.
pointer.
Is there any other doubt? Otherwise, we'll go
No,
with the
sir.
next one.
Clear.
Clear? Thank you. If you are active, you will understand. The next program is realloc. How to reallocate the memory that is already allocated. So what it is? Realloc, this function reallocates the memory which is already allocated by malloc or calloc. The relocation can be increase or decrease the existing memory size. How to do that? There is no typecasting because it is not going to return you any void pointer. So pointer is equal to reallocate pointer with new size. Okay. So let us modify the code. So what we are doing here, first of all, we are asking, so difference between malloc and calloc, now implementing realloc. Implementing realloc. So here we are having the size, the pointer, how many values we are using malloc, we are assigning integer malloc size. Then if it is null, no issue, we are displaying the values. Now after this, what we need to do is we need to reallocate the memory. In order to reallocate the memory, again you are going to ask enter how many values, now for the second time. Okay, then let us do that. So there is no freeing of memory. Okay, we are not going to free the memory here. So what we are doing here, just concentrate, we are allocating the memory, asking the user how many values, allocating using malloc, then checking whether it is assigned or not. If it is not, if it is assigned, then we are printing the value and address. Similarly, we are going to copy paste the code again. Again, we are asking enter how many values, second time. We want to increase or decrease the size. Then scanf, again we are storing in n, now using realloc. Then here we don't have typecasting. P is equal to alloc, realloc, which pointer p, comma, n into size of integer. So what the syntax says? Syntax says realloc pointer comma new size. So here we are writing p comma n into size of integer. Reallocating. Then we are checking null, otherwise we are printing the value and address. That's it. Okay, let us execute the program, compile and run. How many values? 3 values. See, address of 0 is 13C0, 13C4, 13C8 with some values in it. Then enter how many values? Let us say 6 values. See here, we have the same garbage value 640, 640. Then we have 0. Then we have 920, 920. What do you mean by this? Already these values are remaining same. We are not touching them. We are adding another 3 bytes of 3 into 4 bytes of memory. So these lines are added to the existing ones, increasing the size. See the addresses also 13C0, A9, 13C0, same address, C8, same address. After that, it is adding some more memory locations, 3 more memory locations. This is how you are going to reallocate the memory, adding the memory. Okay, let us reduce the memory. Is this clear? Output is clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
First we have taken 3 values. Next we have taken 6 values. So already these 3 values are there. The same 3 values are there. No change in the value nor in the address. Then added these 3 memory locations. Now let us execute the code, compile and run. Now let us give the values as 5 values. So we got 5 memory locations. Then let us reduce it to 3. Now see here, the 3 values are there, C0, C4, C8, C0, C4, C8. Same values 14648, 0, 128, 1468848, 0, 128. So these 2 memory locations have been removed at runtime. Is this clear? You may get a doubt. Sir, let us do a small trick. Instead of printing n values, let us fix it to 5. First time let us give 5. Next time let us give 3. Let us see what is there inside the rest of the 2. Okay. Let us do this illegal activity and see whether that memory is there or not. So first time 5, we got 5. Next time 3, we got again 5. Yes, we have those memory locations, but they are not used. We have same values 225, 225, 0, but they are not being used. This is called as illegal operation. We are trying to get the addresses which we haven't allocated. Okay. So don't change this to 5, keep it, yeah. Then make use of free. Control A, Control C. Is there any doubt? There is no doubt. Let us move to the next one. Okay. So this is regarding malloc, calloc, realloc. Now we are going to write a program to print a matrix. How to do that? Okay. So in order to print a matrix, let us write the code using pointers. Okay. So read and print matrix using pointers. I hope you recollect this concept. Using pointers, previous class.
Yes,
yeah, let us see that. So here what you are going to do, let us create a 2 cross 2 matrix. So we are saying n of 10 cross 10 is the maximum. You can take 3 cross 3, it's your wish. Then we are going to say rows, columns, comma I, comma j. Then we have a pointer. This pointer is pointing to p is equal to address of n of 0. Because it is a 2-dimensional, you cannot write p is equal to n. That point I stressed in the previous class. If it is a two-dimensional array, you cannot write p is equal to n. Don't do that. Okay, p is equal to ampersand n of 0, 0. Then enter how many rows. Then here we'll be having a row. Then we need to accept how many columns. So COL, those many number of columns. Okay, rows and columns. Now let us create the number of rows and columns. How to do that? The number of rows and columns. Now let us not keep n, let us write the code directly using pointers. Okay, let us write the code directly using pointers. So let us not waste the time. So what you are going to do here using malloc. Let us remove this line because we are going to allocate the memory. So what is this? N into, we have to allocate those many rows and columns. How to do this? Just can anyone tell me how to do this? There won't be any n here. So what will be there? Row into column into size of integer. Is this right? Number of rows into number of columns into size of integer. So this line is going to allocate the memory for a two-dimensional array.
Yes, sir.
Number of rows into number of columns into size of integer. For one-dimensional array, we have seen. Have we seen that program printing sum of sum of elements of an array? Yes. Yes, no, previous program was sum of elements of array, that is row n into size of integer. Here it is row into column into size of integer. Okay, if it is not allocating the memory, then this is the code for it. This is the code for it. Then here we are going to accept the values for j equal to 0. Just think a little bit, you will understand. Okay, j, if it is going beyond your head, don't worry, watch this video 10 times, you'll understand. Write this program 10 times, you'll understand. So here it will be row, here it will be j less than column, then j plus plus. So this is the code for accepting the values. Control X. So here, what is the code you're going to write? Enter. I need this line, that's why I'm keeping printf double quote slash n, enter value at %d comma %d. So comma I comma j 0 0 0 1 0 2 like that. Then scanf. So here %d comma, previously we wrote p plus I. Do you recollect p plus I? In the previous program, we have written p plus I. Here.
Yes, sir.
Now what we are going to do is we are going to write p plus I into number of columns plus j. Here we are going to write p plus I into number of columns plus j. This one you have to recollect. You have to mug up.
Yes, sir.
Okay, don't concentrate why we got, what is p value, what is I value, what is column, what is j. You can do tracing, but don't trace complicated things. Otherwise, some people became physically challenged, logically challenged. Okay, so pointers are more dangerous. If you work more on pointers, at some point of time, if you can't handle, it may lead to a mental state. Okay, so don't work much. So concentrate on this line. P plus I was the previous one. Multiply with column plus j. That's it. If you want to print the matrix, how you are going to copy and paste the code? Let me remove the rest of the code. We don't want till free. Yeah. So here we want to print printf slash n entered values are. So before this, printf slash n enter values of matrix. That's it. Entered matrix values are. Entered matrix values are. So what is that? Here you are going to print after first for loop slash n printf n. That's it. After first for loop, second for loop, you are going to print no slash. We are going to use a percentage 3-digit number, 3D. That's it. Comma. Now, whatever is there inside the scanf, before that you need to keep an asterisk symbol. That's it. Whatever is there before, keep an asterisk symbol. So here, that's it. So this is how you are going to print the value of a matrix, 2-dimensional array. If it is 3-dimensional, this is dimension 1, p plus i, into column plus j is dimension 2. If you have a third dimension, into third dimension plus that r, I, j, k. If you are having k plus k, okay. Row, column, dimension 3, d3, if it is the case, into d3 plus k. Like that, you need to increase the number of dimensions. Don't worry now, all these things maybe you're not going to do even in your next semester where data structures is explained. Okay, this is at the highest end I am explaining, because these kinds of things you may get in placement drives. Placement drives. Malloc, calloc, realloc, we discussed, that is enough for that. Malloc, calloc. Now this p plus I into column plus j, p plus I, all these things you can see in placement drives. Okay, that's why I'm explaining here. So here we have a parenthesis less. Here also a parenthesis. No, that is right. Anywhere else? Where is scanf? Scanf? Yeah, no issue. So let us compile and execute this program. VP. Execute, compile and run. Here we missed a semicolon. Same with here. No? Execute, compile and run. 2x2 matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. We got the matrix. Let us make it as 3x3 matrix. Compile and run. 3 rows, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, thank God. We got the correct output. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So in this program, what we have done, we didn't go for pointers. We have directly implemented DMA here. Otherwise, it might have taken another 10 to 15 minutes of time. Matrix accepting, matrix displaying with normal arrays, then with pointers, then with DMA. So let us go directly. So here we are asking how many rows, how many columns. Okay. So we are declaring only rows, columns, ij, and pointer variable. Then for that pointer variable, we are allocating the memory. Now, based on number of rows, number of columns, we are allocating row into column into size of integer, because we are using malloc. Otherwise, you might be creating row into column, comma, size of integer if it is calloc. Okay, try that also. So you will be keeping a comma here. Instead of into, keep a comma, keep calloc, it is going to allocate the memory. Then you are checking whether the memory is allocated or not. Then you are asking enter values of matrix. Here you need to concentrate p plus I into number of columns plus j. This logic you have to mug up. P plus I into number of columns plus j. Similarly, you are going to keep an asterisk before p plus I into column plus j. The rest of the code is well known to you. At the last, you are going to write free p, freeing the pointer. Is there any doubt here? Because based on this program, now the programs I am going to give you for breakout rooms, and you will be getting marks for them. So is there any doubt here? Great. If there is no doubt, I'm copying and pasting this program. Let's see whether we have anything left here. String copy. Let's do this later. Free. Already we have seen this free. This function releases the memory which is already allocated. It takes the following form: free PTR. Here PTR is pointer variable. Yeah, that's it. That is the end of the slide. So now let us make breakout rooms. It is already 3. So I'm going to give you 5 programs. All these 5 programs are going to fetch you 4 marks. So don't waste the time. Don't waste the time. So for the morning batch, I have given the questions for the same. You are going to get the same questions. What is this? Is print even sum and odd sum. Take one dimensional array, check whether that number is even or odd. If it is even, add to even sum. If it is odd number, add to odd sum. Print the even sum and odd sum using DMA, dynamic memory allocation. Next, print a trace of a matrix using DMA. You know what is trace? Print even sum and odd sum in a two-dimensional array using DMA. Two-dimensional array. Now itself we have seen how to accept a value, how to print a value. Now write the code to check whether it is even or odd. Add to even sum or odd sum. Then printing upper triangle and lower triangle of a matrix using DMA. Upper triangle and lower triangle of a matrix. Then print inverse of a triangle using DMA. So all these programs are going to get you 20 marks. You are having time more than an hour. We are going to close at 4:20 today. As per the schedule, we are going to close. Okay. So don't waste the time. I'm going to copy paste these programs. I hope you know where to find the link to check the marks. Click on the group. On the group, you will be having media links and docs. Click on that. Here you will be finding links. Click on the links. Here you will be having the link for the document. So here you are having the document link. Click on that. It is going to load you the sheet. Anyhow, I'll be copying, pasting the link again. So copy docs. What is the copy link? One selected, forward to F1 self. So this is the link. F1. In this F1 you are having marks of today, 20 marks. So try to get 20 by 20 in this class. Do some work. Okay. Please don't post the programs if you can't show them in WhatsApp to your faculty. Sir, inverse or reverse, sir? Fifth one, inverse. Rows becomes columns. Okay, rows becomes columns. So try this one.
Sir, that is transpose, no, sir.
Transpose, yeah, good. So then that is transpose. Thank you for that. So transpose of a triangle. Good one. Inverse, no, inverse is different. No? 0 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0. That is inverse, no? Finish. So I'm pasting the questions back. So let us remove these questions. Delete messages. Delete everyone. So let us make breakout rooms now. I hope you learned a lot today. Just try to revise, otherwise you'll forget. From this, you'll be definitely getting questions for mid-exam as well as for external exam. So this ends our portion for the mid-exam. 3.5 units. This is the half of the unit. So in the next class, we will be studying our first unit. Strings concept will start again using functions, using pointers, everything we are going to mix up. So let me make breakout rooms, stop recording.